everyone. It's Grandpa Ron here again. Hope you're all having a great day. Today we're going to get back into our very basic Bible study. Remember, we're looking at the book of Joshua, and last time we looked at chapter 12, where we saw a recap of all the kings that the children of Israel had conquered, 31 in all, up to that point in the Promised Land. And we mentioned that in eliminating these 31 kings, they basically eliminated the severest of the military threat in that area. And today we're going to look at chapter 13, and it starts off with an account of the territory that has not yet been taken. So let's see what happens in chapter 13. Now Joshua was old and advanced in years when the Lord said to him, "You are old and advanced in years, and very much of the land remains to be possessed." Now remember, at this time, Joshua's got to be 100 years old anyway. He dies when he's 110, so God's challenge to him, or charge to him, was to take over the Promised Land and divide it up among the 12 tribes. And now with the major military threat gone, we see the shift with him dividing up the country. Even though it's not completely occupied yet, they haven't completely driven out all the inhabitants of the land. So let's see what happens. Verse 2, "This is the land that remains, all the regions of the Philistines and those of the Geshurites, from the Shihor, which is east of Egypt, even as far as the border of Ekron to the north, it is counted as Canaanite. The 5 lords of the Philistines, the Gazite, the Ashdodite, the Ashkelonite, the Gittite, the Ephronite, and the Ebite." Names. To the south, all the land of the Canaanite and the Merom that belongs to the Sidonians, as far as Aphek on the border of the Amorite, and the land of the Gebelite, and all of Lebanon toward the east, from Baal-Gad below Mount Hermon, as far as Lebo-Hamath. All the inhabitants of the hill country from Lebanon as far as Misrephoth-Maim, all of the Sidonians, I will drive them out from before the sons of Israel. Only allot it to Israel for an inheritance as I have commanded you. Now therefore apportion this land for an inheritance to the 9 tribes and the half-tribe of Manasseh." Now, what God is saying, I'm going to drive these people out before you, but I want you to go ahead and divide it up. Borders were real important, and so we're going to see in the next few chapters a detailed description of, what tribe got what land and what the borders are. And one reason that's important is, as we've seen, there can be a lot of bickering between brothers and tribes. And so we're going to set up these definitive boundaries so that there's no argument, no bickering, everything's established. Now, the first thing that we see in these next verses is a verification of what Moses has already done. Remember, when they came up to the border of the Promised Land, several tribes said, we want this property on the east side of the Jordan. And Moses agreed to that with some stipulations. But he agreed to that. So now Joshua is going to verify that and make it clear what those properties are. Verse 8, "With the other half-tribes, the Reubenites and the Gadites received their inheritance, which Moses gave them beyond the Jordan to the east, just as Moses, the servant of the Lord, gave to them." So there's a verification here. And the boundaries are discussed in verses 9, and verse 10, verse 11, verse 12. So a pretty detailed description of the land that was encompassed by these 2.5 tribes. Verse 13 is significant though, because it says, "But the sons of Israel did not dispossess the Geshurites or the Maccathites from Gesher, and Maccath live among Israel until this day." Instead of driving them out, they're going to collect like payments from them. But we're going to talk about this failure to drive these people out in a little while. It has a long-range impact. Verse 14 is also significant. It says, "Only to the tribe of Levi he did not give an inheritance. The offerings by fire to the Lord, the God of Israel, are their inheritance, as he spoke to them." So the tribe of Levi doesn't actually get any vast lands in the promised land, but they get something that's could be considered even better, and that's the sacrifices. And then later we're going to see that they're going to be the priests, and we're going to see that they're going to be representatives of the Lord himself. We're also going to see later that they do get some cities, and we'll talk about that when we get to it, and little strips of property around the cities for their herds. But as far as a distribution of the lands overall, they don't get an inheritance. Their property is going to be found within, scattered within these the properties of these other tribes. Since they're going to be priests, that's important, because it means priests will be accessible all throughout the land. Verse 15, "So Moses gave an inheritance to the tribe of the sons of Reuben according to their families." Again, this is on the east side of the Jordan, and we're going to see a list here from verse 15 down to 23, describing the property that he's giving to the tribe of Reuben. Then starting in verse 24, it says, "Moses also gave an inheritance to the tribe of Gad, to the sons of Gad according to their families." So from verse 24 down to verse 28, we see a description of the land they get. And I put maps up here. I didn't do a very good job highlighting them, but you'll get an idea of what these areas are anyway. And then starting in verse 29, "Moses also gave an inheritance to the half-tribe of Manasseh, and it was for the half-tribe of the sons of Manasseh according to their families." And from there to verse 32, we see a description of their property. Now the half-tribe of Manasseh, they're all, the other half of the tribe of Manasseh, they're going to get some property on the west side of the Jordan, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But verse 33 summarizes by saying, "But to the tribe of Levi, Moses did not give an inheritance. The Lord, the God of Israel, is their inheritance, as he had promised them." So they're going to be the priests of the Lord. We're going to stop there, but we see that the east side of the Jordan, the property that Moses gave to the children of Israel, is now verified by Joshua. The children of Israel were given the promised land. God drove out these enemies before them. He saved them. He's giving them this wonderful land and opportunity. But they didn't believe him totally. They didn't follow his instructions totally. They left some of these people around. And we'll see later that they became a contaminating factor. And the love of the Lord was turned away from God because of this little bit of contamination that was left in the nation, in the property. And next time we're going to continue to look at how Joshua divides the land on the west side of the Jordan and the remainder of the promised land, and some of the things that the children of Israel encounter in that process. Hope you'll watch the next video. In the meantime, God bless.